Hello and welcome. Thank you for being here with me today. For the last 10 years, I've been on a quiet but powerful quest to understand one simple, life-changing idea. What if the most powerful medicine wasn't in a pill, but in your garden? You see, I wasn't always this way. I wasn't the kind of person who grew up loving kale smoothies or having spinach in every meal. Actually, I had a complicated relationship with vegetables for most of my life. And by complicated, I mean I avoided them at all costs. When I was a kid, vegetables meant soggy peas from a can, or bitter, over-steamed broccoli that my parents insisted I eat before dessert. It always felt like a punishment, not nourishment. I used to joke that green foods were just grass in disguise. But everything changed one summer about 5 years ago. I had just come back from a long and exhausting business trip. You know, the kind airport food, hotel coffee, no real rest. I was bloated, drained, and could barely think straight. I was functioning, but I wasn't living. Then a friend invited me to a local farm-to-table dinner. Now, to be honest, I wasn't excited. I was expecting the usual, dry lettuce, maybe a few cherry tomatoes and a side of guilt for not being healthy enough. But that evening surprised me. The chef came out and introduced a dish: roasted rainbow carrots, marinated in olive oil, garlic, and thyme. Alongside was grilled kale with lemon zest and a beautiful swirl of beet hummus. I remember thinking, carrots? That's the star of the show? I hesitated, but I took one bite, and that bite, it was sweet, slightly caramelized, earthy, comforting, not at all like the boiled mush I remembered from childhood. But more than the taste, it was how I felt afterward. Lighter, clearer. Like my body had just received something it had been quietly begging for. That night, for the first time in months, I slept peacefully. No tossing, no weird bloated stomach. And the next morning, I woke up, feeling different, energized, almost hopeful. That one moment sparked something in me. A question. What if I've been missing out on the simplest source of healing all along? That question launched me into a journey I never expected. A journey into exploring how vegetables' real, whole, vibrant vegetable scan actually transform our bodies from the inside out. Since then, I've met so many people with similar stories. People who were skeptical at first. People who struggled with health, energy, or digestion. And who found that the answer didn't come from a fancy supplement, but from embracing what nature already gave us. And in this episode, I want to take you inside one of those stories. You're about to meet Saraha woman, who used to avoid vegetables just like I did. Someone who struggled with low energy, foggy mornings, and the feeling of being disconnected from her body. Someone who, with one small step at a time, changed everything. Through Sarah's story, you'll see just how powerful even the smallest change can be. You'll witness how a shift in mindset, followed by consistent action, can bring not just physical results, but emotional strength, confidence, and a sense of peace. So, whether you're someone who already loves your leafy greens, or someone who still sees salad as punishment, I invite you to stay with us, because by the end of this story, you may never look at a vegetable the same way again. This is more than a conversation about food. It's about coming back home to your body. It's about reclaiming energy. And it's about finding health not in extremes, but in the everyday. Let's begin. Part 2. Veggie Habits. Meeting Sarah. Now that you've heard a bit of my story, let me introduce you to someone truly inspiring. Her name is Sarah. She's 42 years old, a school librarian in Portland. Soft-spoken, warm, and the kind of woman who never forgets your birthday. She bakes cookies for her neighbors and knows every student at her school by name. But like so many caregivers in this world, Sarah had a blind spot. She was always taking care of everyone else, her students, her 2 kids, and her aging parents. Yet when it came to taking care of herself, she was always last on the list. She wasn't sick, not exactly, But she wasn't thriving either. Sarah often felt tired. Not the kind of tired that goes away after a nap, but the kind that lingers in your bones. She had chronic digestive problems, bloating, irregularity, discomfort after meals. She struggled with adult acne that no skin cream could fix. And most of all, she described this mental fog like her brain was always wrapped in cotton, especially in the mornings. She said it was like living life on mute. But here's the thing. Sarah hated vegetables. She told me once with a chuckle. They tasted like punishment. Like green sadness. I always thought eating veggies was a chore. I tried salads, maybe for a week. Then I'd go back to bagels and cream cheese. And honestly, I get it. She's not alone. Did you know that over 90% of adults don't meet the recommended daily intake of vegetables? That's most of us. Life gets busy. Processed food is quick. And vegetables? They often come with bad memories from childhood, weird textures, bland tastes. But then something happened that changed everything for Sarah. One ordinary afternoon, her youngest daughter came home from school with a drawing. It was a family portrait: mom, dad, big sister, and little sister. Except, in the picture, Sarah was drawn lying in bed, eyes closed with 3 floating Z's above her head. And underneath the drawing, her daughter had written, "Mommy is always tired." That small, innocent observation hit her like a punch to the chest. Sarah told me, "I didn't realize how much my low energy had become a part of my children's memories. That scared me more than any lab result ever could. I don't want my kids to remember me as the tired mom." That moment became her wake-up call. But let's be real, it wasn't like she woke up the next morning craving Brussels sprouts. No, her journey was messy. There were failed recipes, soggy spinach attempts, burnt sweet potatoes, Pinterest boards full of good intentions and even better excuses. She tried a few green juice cleanses, but they made her hangry and irritable. She joined a clean eating group, but the rules were so strict it gave her anxiety. Then, something finally clicked. One day, she stumbled into a free community nutrition workshop at her local library. It was hosted by a young coach, down to earth, kind, and refreshingly honest. He didn't talk about calorie counting. He didn't preach guilt or shame. He didn't even mention detoxing. Instead, he gave Sarah one simple invitation. Add 1 new vegetable a day, in a way you actually enjoy. That's it. Not cut out all sugar. Not go vegan by Friday. Just add 1 vegetable. And make it delicious. Sarah loved how gentle that sounded. How doable. There was no pressure to overhaul her whole life. Just a nudge to experiment, to be curious. So she started. On day 1, she roasted some baby carrots with olive oil, honey, and a sprinkle of cinnamon. Her kids actually ate them too. The next day, it was sautéed spinach with garlic and a splash of lemon. Then came zucchini noodles tossed in pesto, oven-roasted cauliflower, popcorn, and even a chickpea and kale stew that made her feel like a kitchen wizard. Some days were better than others. Some veggies got pushed around on the plate. But the key? She kept going. 1 vegetable, 1 day, no guilt. And slowly, her body began to respond. Part 3. Transformation in action. Sarah's journey. So what did Sarah actually do? She didn't sign up for a 30-day detox. She didn't swear off carbs or count every calorie. No. Sarah simply began with sweet potatoes. She sliced them, tossed them in olive oil, sprinkled a bit of cinnamon, and roasted them until the edges turned golden and crisp. It was warm, familiar, comforting, and most importantly, it didn't feel like health food. It felt like real food. That small success gave her the confidence to try something new the next day. She made zucchini noodle zoodles, as her kids later called them, tossed them with garlic and pesto. Then she grilled eggplant slices, brushed with balsamic glaze, and topped with crumbled feta. Later, she discovered cauliflower rice, which she sautéed with turmeric, cumin, and green pizza dish that quickly became her go-to lunch. Little by little, Sarah began replacing the processed, easy foods in her kitchen with colorful, flavorful, plant-based options. No pressure, no perfection, just progress. Within the first 3 weeks, she started noticing changes. Not dramatic at first, but unmistakable. She told me, "I didn't reach for my coffee the moment I opened my eyes." That was new. Her energy felt more natural, less forced. Her mornings became less foggy and more focused. She also noticed something else. Her belly no longer felt like a balloon after lunch. No more uncomfortable bloating or cramping after meals. Her digestion had settled into a rhythm kind of peace she hadn't felt in years. And her skin? Those stubborn adult acne breakouts that she used to hide under concealer began to fade. Her complexion became clearer, brighter. For the first time in a long time, Sarah looked in the mirror and smiled not at how she looked, but at how she felt. She even had the energy, yes, energy to take her kids to the park after work. She no longer came home and collapsed on the couch. She moved, she laughed, she lived. One of the most surprising changes? Her sugar cravings started to fade. She said, "I used to need something sweet after every meal. But once I started eating more real food, I just didn't want it as much." Let me pause here for a second. This isn't magic. It's not a miracle. It's not about willpower or discipline. It's biology. Vegetables are rich in fiber, which feeds the good bacteria in our gut. They contain antioxidants that reduce inflammation. They're packed with vitamins and minerals that support cellular repair, brain function, and hormone balance. And those vibrant colors? They're not just pretty. They're chemical signals plant compounds called phytonutrients that communicate with your body in powerful ways. By eating more color, Sarah wasn't just changing her meals. She was changing her microbiome. She was calming inflammation. She was giving her body what it had been silently asking for all along. A few months into her new routine, Sarah went to see her doctor for her annual checkup. She didn't expect anything major, maybe a polite, "Keep it up." But the doctor looked at her labs and raised his eyebrows. "Your cholesterol is down by 30 points, he said. "What did you change?" Sarah smiled and answered, "I started eating more colors." That moment stayed with her not because of the numbers, but because for the first time, she felt in control of her health. But her transformation wasn't just physical. Something shifted inside Sarah. She stood taller. She laughed more. She stopped apologizing for taking time for herself. One night, after dinner, her daughter curled up next to her on the couch and said, "Mommy, you laugh more now." That was the moment Sarah knew this change was deeper than diet. It was about joy. It was about reconnection with her body, with her family, with herself. Today, Sarah keeps a small veggie garden in her backyard, just a few raised beds with kale, cherry tomatoes, and herbs. Her kids help her water it. They pick basil leaves for pasta. It's become a ritual, shared celebration of growth. And she's started helping other moms in her community too. She hosts simple workshops at the library, teaching people how to cook with plants, not to lose weight or fit into jeans, but to feel good, to feel alive. Is she perfect? Number? She still loves cookies. She still has her days. But the difference is, she no longer sees vegetables as the enemy. Now, they're her allies. They're the tools she uses to nourish, to ground, to heal. Part 4. Beyond Sarah, a global movement. Sarah's story is powerful. But what's even more powerful is knowing she's not alone. In fact, she's just one of thousands, maybe millions of people around the world who are starting to realize something profound, that the answer to feeling better might be growing in the soil beneath our feet. All across the globe, people are waking up to the transformative power of vegetables, not as a side dish, not as an obligation, but as the foundation of health and vitality. According to the World Health Organization, if more people simply ate enough vegetables and fruits each day, we could prevent up to 2.7 million deaths per year. Yes, you heard that right, millions. Why? Because a plant-rich diet doesn't just prevent one disease, it helps prevent many. Heart disease, type 2 diabetes, stroke, certain cancers, and even mental health decline linked to chronic inflammation. A landmark Harvard study tracked over 100 people for decades and found that those who ate 5 servings of fruits and vegetables per day had a 13% lower risk of death from all causes, especially heart disease and cancer. And here's the key insight. It's not just about living longer, it's about living better. Let's take a look at Okinawa, Japan, home to some of the world's longest living people. There, meals are simple, colorful, and grounded in tradition. Staples include sweet potatoes, bitter melon, leafy greens, and fermented vegetables like miso and pickled radish. They don't eat for trends, they eat for balance. And as a result, many Okinawans live well into their 90s and even 100s with clarity of mind, strong mobility, and joy. But this isn't just happening in remote corners of the world. Here in the United States, something is shifting too. Schools are introducing meatless Mondays. Restaurants are offering cauliflower steaks, lentil burgers, and kale-topped grain bowls. Even grocery stores are expanding their produce sections faster than ever before. And on social media, there's a rising tide of inspiration. Hashtags like #VeggieLife, #EatTheRainbow, and #PlantPowered have become movements in themselves, connecting strangers from all walks of life who share one common goal: to feel better by eating better. What's beautiful is that there's no one right way to do it. You don't need to go fully vegan. You don't need to commit to a strict detox. You don't need a meal plan that feels like a second job. All you need is a beginning. Just like Sarah, you can start small. Maybe you add roasted carrots to tonight's dinner. Or try zucchini noodles instead of pasta tomorrow. Or toss bell peppers, spinach, and tomatoes into your morning eggs. There's no pressure, no judgment. Just an invitation to be curious, to experiment, to listen to your body and respond with care. And if you're wondering where to start, we invite you to connect with our Veggie Habit Community. It's a growing space where people just like you share simple plant-based recipes, real-life success stories, grocery tips and seasonal vegetable guides, weekly challenges like try a new Veggie Friday, and most of all encouragement. Because this isn't just about vegetables. It never was. It's about energy. It's about mood. It's about taking back your health, your time, and your joy. It's about waking up feeling alive and going to bed feeling at peace. So maybe this is the moment for you. The moment you say, yes, I want to feel better. Yes, I want to take one small step. Yes, I'm ready to add color to my plate and my life. Because from the ground up, real change is possible. Sarah's story was one spark. Yours could be the next. Thank you for joining us on this journey. We hope this episode gave you something to think about, to feel, and to try. And we hope it reminded you that health doesn't have to be hard. It just has to begin with one choice. One bite, one veggie. We'll see you next time with another story, another voice, and another reason to love what grows from the earth. Until then, stay curious, stay kind to your body, and keep adding color to your plate.